Hey guys, what's up? It's Alec Torelli, and welcome back to an episode of The Hand of the Day. In this series I'm putting out, we're going to be covering tournament strategy, because one of the questions I get asked so often is how do you play early, middle, and late stages of the tournaments, and how do you adjust to these different strategies? So in this video, we're going to be talking about the early stages of multi-table tournaments, and some of the appropriate strategy I think will help you elevate your game. Stay right here. This past Sunday, I decided to hop into a tournament. It was the main event, and very early on, I got dealt Jack-9 offsuit in the big blind. Late position min raises to 200 on 50-100 blinds, and with 20,000 chips facing a min raise, closing the action, getting a really good price, we have a really standard call here. This is a spot where you're going to want to play a lot of hands, you're very deep, and if you could flop something big, you could potentially win a big pot. I opt to call, and we go heads up to the flop. Flop comes down gin for me, queen 10-8 rainbow. I check it over to the raiser. He bets 350. And this is pretty promising because he A, bets on this board, and B, elects to use a pretty big sizing. So this tells me he probably has something. Maybe he has a big draw, maybe he's already made, but he almost definitely doesn't have something like ace-5 suited or an underpair, because he'd probably just check those hands on such a coordinated board. So with the nuts that are a little bit vulnerable, because there are some cards that kill the action or pair the board, or potentially I can lose value if he has an overpair, I decided to make a big raise here and go for 1200. I just want to apply pressure right away. We are very deep, and I want to build a big pot, allowing me to get much more chips in on subsequent streets. He opts to call, and we go to the turn. Now this is where things get bananas, because I'm playing two tables and I have a colleague over as well, and I ended up checking because I timed out during the damn tournament.
Oh my god, I checked. I timed out because I'm fucking filming this thing. Holy shit.
So on the turn, I intended to just bet and probably bet a decent amount, but I ended up checking, and it actually made me think differently about this hand. And the reason is because if I bet this turn, it's really signifying a lot of strength. Like, how many people are check raising queen 10-8 and then betting a 5 turn? Most likely they're gonna have something really big, and I might even allow my opponent to get away from an overpair. Furthermore, if he has a bluff, like maybe he floated with ace jack or ace king or king jack, he's probably just gonna fold those hands as well. But if I check, maybe he's now going to A, bet his value hands for protection and for value, or B, turn that ace jack or ace king or king jack into a bluff. So I actually kind of like this check here, even though I kind of got lucky. I sort of backed myself into it, but it made me think differently about the hand. And I think this is a unique spot to cover in the early stages of tournaments, is that it's really hard to get a lot of value from big hands because people are unwilling to put a lot of chips in the pot. So they're typically over folding, meaning they're folding too often in spots where they don't want to play a big pot with a marginal hand. So if he does have a hand like ace queen or kings here, if I come out firing 2,500, 3,000 on the turn, he might just fold that hand. Whereas if I check, he's now going to bet it for protection. So it's a good way to get value by being a little bit deceptive, pulling back the reins, being a little bit more patient, could end up paying off. I check, now he bets 2,500 on the turn. And much the same logic we just talked about before, I think raising here looks extremely strong. Check raising the flop and then check raising again on the turn, almost always a nutted hand. I'm really only going to get action from a set, maybe two pair, but that's pretty much it. And if I raise, I might get action from those hands, but if I call, I'm going to get action from those hands on the river regardless. So the principle I want you to keep in mind is anytime you're going to get action from the hand, regardless of how you play it, it's typically better to trap. And the reason is that you also get action from the hands that you wouldn't get action from if you had raised. So, namely, those hands are bluffs. So, whereas on the turn, if I raise, I get action from sets, and if I call, I get action from sets. But if I raise, I don't get action from his bluffs, because he's just going to fold. Whereas if I call, I'll now get action from his bluffs on the river, because if I check call the turn, and the river's a blank, maybe he bluffs again on the river. So I'm sort of free-rolling by calling to get action on his bluffs that I wouldn't get if I had raised. I hope that makes sense. If not, go back and rewind it or leave a comment below, and I'll try to clarify further. But the idea here is that you get twice as much action, or you get action from more hands on the turn by calling than you do by raising, therefore increasing the value you can earn from your strong hands. This is a very important concept, especially in the early stages of tournaments. So I go ahead and call, and now the river comes a 5, pairing the board. So now I'm a little bit wary because I could get action again from bluffs and maybe some hands like kings or aces that go for thin value. But if he does have a set, now I'm behind. So I go ahead and check, and he comes out firing for a big bet of 6,000. So at this point, if I raise, I'm not going to get action from his bluffs. I'm almost certainly not going to get action from like ace, queen, or kings that's a thin value bet. I don't even know if he can have those. He might just check. But probably going to bet now that the 5 paired because he beats other 2 pairs. So maybe he's going to bet with those. But if I raise, he's almost certainly going to fold. But if he has a set and I raise, he now has a full house, he's going to call. So I can't fold. My hand is just too strong. I beat his bluffs and I beat some of his value. But I don't want to raise because I don't want to bust in the early stages of a tournament. So another principle to keep in mind here is that additional chips you gain in the early stages aren't worth that much. So if I were to make a thin raise and he called me with aces, yeah, I'd win an extra 10,000. But it doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. The difference between having 30,000 and 40,000, which is that additional money I would have made, or 30,000 and 50,000, is not as big of a difference as having 10,000, which is my remaining stack, or having 0. So you really want to use caution in the early stages and prevent yourself from going broke at all costs. So in a spot like this, I think it's much more prudent to just call, and if I'm beat, I lose the minimum, and if I have the best hand, I win a pot. But try not to get greedy at the expense of potentially losing all your stack, because the risk reward typically isn't worth it, especially in the early stages of a tournament. I hope you like this analysis. If you want more from me, there are 2 things you can do to help improve your game today. The first is download my hand reading system. It helps walk you through my process of how I put people on a range, understand what they have, and how to make strategic decisions against those types of hands. It's all free. It's at the link below, and you can click on that, enter your email, I'll send it right over. The second is if you want analysis on every hand I played in this tournament and me to break down every single spot and walk you through not just the early stages, but the middle and late stages as well, I put out a long strategy video in the membership at Conscious Poker where I break down all 45 hands, 50 hands I played in this tournament in additional videos. So that's some premier content if you're looking to take your game to the next level today. Check out the link below and you can grab access to that as well. As played, I end up just calling, and he has queen 10. I win myself a nice pot.
Call it.
Yeah. Queen
Oh,
10.
all right,
Boom.
sick.
Got
Boom.
him.
Thanks for your time and attention. I'll see you in the next hand of the day. See ya.